Are you afraid of the dark? Do you keep all of your doors and windows locked? Or do you open your door to unsuspected knocks? Welcome to our Halloween special.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't know for sure. Let me be gross for a second and blow my nose.
That's okay. I was picking my nose earlier, but
That's okay.
Fine.
No shame in that.
welcome to Mysteretical, where we take a theoretical approach to solving mysteries.
So treat life like 2020. Stay inside and don't let anyone in, because for our Halloween special, we're covering the Black-Eyed Kids.
Have you ever heard of Travelers?
Yeah.
Have
And
you
I think I
watched
tried
it?
to watch it.
Oh no, it's so good. It gets good.
So what happens is I'll start a show, but I'll be like busy while I'm starting the show. Like I'll be working
Yeah, that
while
one
I'm
you
starting
need
the
that
show.
one you need to pay attention for sure.
And I think that's what's been happening is like I watched that, but because isn't the guy from Will and Grace in it?
Yeah, and there's a girl that looks like Rachel McAdams, but it's not her.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but they like the whole theory behind it is just really cool. You just get really like involved in it, and then it ended, and you were like, okay.
Yeah.
And now it's canceled, so me. But
Yeah.
it's so good. You should try again.
Okay, I will. I'll add it
But
to
you
my
have
list
to
for
pay.
sure.
You definitely have to pay attention. Like you can't. It was like me watching Hannibal. I kept trying to do other things, and I was like, no, I keep missing stuff, and then I
was
look,
so good.
and then I look,
Yeah.
and it's like the most disgusting thing I've ever seen.
You know, there was another show that I started watching. It was called The Nick. Have you seen it or heard of it?
Mhm.
It was based in the early 1900s. It was like the first hotel called the Knickerbocker in New York or something.
Yeah.
And it was like they were performing surgeries, and you basically are watching like the evolution of medicine, kind of. But
That's cool.
it's like dramatized, and there's like some big name actors in it. It was so good. And I think that like my husband and I watched the first season, and I don't know that it came back for a second season, or we just got rid of cable because we got rid of cable.
Right.
But it was really good.
The Nick. I'm not good with surgery stuff.
Oh, it's very squeamish. So
yeah, I probably wouldn't watch it.
No. It's good though. Like there's a lot of drama in it, and like you just I don't know. It's pretty good.
I tried to watch that show that was like a hospital show with Daniel Radcliffe, that little Harry Potter boy. I couldn't even watch the first episode though, because it was old. It's so old style, and then it was surgery stuff, and I was like, I'm good with like crime scene photos and everything, but I can't watch you cut into somebody. It just like really bothers me.
Yeah.
And I can watch slasher films, but I'll just close my eyes if it's just gross.
I don't mind grossness. I really don't. I think that what really gets me is like if I'm picturing them doing it to me. Like if somebody my big thing is teeth. Like I just have this like I don't know. But when I see someone like pulling someone's teeth out or doing anything like that, like I'm like, ugh.
Well, that's like the psychology behind how they make horror movies is they do finger, like in Black Swan when she peels her hangnail and it like,
yeah.
But that's because it makes the majority of people very uncomfortable when it's like eyeballs, fingernails, and teeth. Teeth is another really big one because it's super uncomfortable. Even for
I could see that.
Me, it doesn't. Yeah, it bothers me. Teeth don't really bother me. It depends on what's happening.
Yeah.
I also always picture House of Wax when the girl's in the grate and they're her little like fingers doing this, and the guy's there with like clippers, and you're like, no, not fingertip. You could just stab her. It's like Paris Hilton, so no one cares. But just
yeah. But when someone's being waterboarded, I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Or like having a limb chopped off, I'm usually somewhat okay, actually.
Yeah.
I was good watching Ratched.
I haven't watched the full thing yet. I need to.
There's a lot of episodes. I didn't expect the season to be that long, but it's actually quite long. So I think
I'm really excited for it. I like watched it while I was working. My roommate was watching it, and I just watched it with her, like a little bit while I was working. But I didn't watch the full thing, so I'm excited to watch the full thing.
I mean, it's 40s medicine, so there's like transorbital lobotomies, and that's the only stuff I can't. There was one where I just heard it, and I was like, no, don't like that.
I've been watching Lovecraft Country. It's on HBO.
I don't have HBO. I'll get it one day.
It is so good. We can watch the first episode when you come over to Cover Rapids if you want. Like,
sell me on HBO. I'm already sold.
It's all Black actors, right? Mm-hmm. And then and it's all about like the 50s and 60s and like the shit that they had to go through. Like, I'm gonna just butcher names, but it's a lot of like the Tulsa massacres that happened and everything. Like they flash back to that, and like, but they also put in like a sci-fi aspect to it too, like vampires and like monsters and like all these different things. But they show like how the world was back then and really how it is today. They show how the world was back then and like how they dealt with it and stuff like that. Like it's really good. It sounds so good.
It sounds good.
They did a great job putting it together. So today we're gonna solve the mystery of the asshole that stole my bike.
We should get some luminol.
I left everything down there. Like I took pictures of it. It's like my bike lock chopped in half.
Yep.
I took pictures of it, but I left it down there. The police have not called me back.
I mean,
there's nothing that they can do.
You're not going to get it back.
No, I just want the report to be there. You know, it would just make me feel better just to have the report to be there. I also let my building manager know, and I was like, listen, I know there's nothing you're going to do about it or you can do about it. I know it was my fault for putting it down there, but just so you know, my bike was stolen on the property, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not angry. I mean, I am. I'm very angry, but like, it's past, you know? There's nothing I can do about it now.
Yeah, you got to let it go.
Absolutely nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're in the second largest city. I have to expect crime. And it was so funny because, like, wasn't it last week or the week before that we were talking? And I was like, yeah, never happened to me. I know it's going to happen.
Cursed yourself.
I did.
But now
it was probably happened. Like while we were recording it, and it was happening. And I'm like, you know?
I am sorry about your bike. That does really suck.
It does. It was an e-bike, so it was pricey.
Oh. But they can't even use it, so... Well, they can't. I'm sure they'd have to buy new.
They would have to remove the motor and get a new motor. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going to cost them more to fix it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're the idiots. I mean, I have the key. I have the battery. If they even try to like go and get a new battery, like it's going to be reported back to me. You know?
Yeah. Oops.
Yeah. I wanted to put a GPS tracker on it too.
Next time.
Yeah, next bike I will. But next bike won't be as expensive.
What? You gonna go over there?
Yeah, I would. I would go over there. I'd be like, hi. Like, I might look like a chihuahua, but...
You don't look like a chihuahua. Maybe like a corgi, like a happy...
Okay, so I might look like a corgi, but trust me, I can get down like a pit bull if I needed to. God, I hate people.
I was gonna say, God, I love pit bulls.
I do. My little Betsy's half pit.
She is?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're just they're such good dogs.
They really are. I mean, she's very loyal, very, very like. Mm-hmm.
They're just protective.
You're mine. Yeah, she's very protective in a good way. Yeah. Like, she'll growl, but she knows, like, if I'm like, Betsy, it's okay, she'll stop, you know?
Yeah. It's just having them well. It's the owner. It's the owner.
It's all the owner. Like, she would never bite anybody unless they were doing, like, some serious damage or...
Yeah. Yeah. Which then you're like, please attack them. I loved walking my brother's Rottweiler. I would walk him at any time because people would cross the street to not go near me.
Yeah.
I was like, that's what I just want, like 3 ginormous, mean looking sweetheart dogs that people will literally cross the street to not come near me.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I want.
Okay, are we ready to dive into the Black-Eyed Peas?
Yeah. Woo. Well, not woo.
Yeah, I think that this is like one of the only urban legends that I really like. I struggle with coming to a conclusion in my head. Like I could see it actually being real, and I can also see like some of the makeup factor, but I could see it actually being real.
Because there's not a real explanation for it.
There isn't. There isn't. And I mean, yeah, I know that people lie all the time and fabricate stories, you know, just for attention or whatever, but
I also
yeah.
Because like I told you, I'm a believing skeptic. So
right.
I believe anything's possible. They can't prove that they're not real, so I can't prove that they're real. But I'm sure some people are cuckoo, but I also feel like some people are not, but they're treated like they are. And I don't think that's fair. Because that's the whole reason we think aliens aren't real, because the second someone sees a UFO, they're like, you're crazy. And then it's just...
Aliens are real.
Yes.
We all know. I mean, the galaxy is way too big for aliens.
There's no way that we're the only ones. That's selfish and stupid.
Yeah. I mean, eventually we will find them and come in contact with them. It's just a matter of time and being able to have the technology to do so.
Well, I think we've already been in contact. It's just that...
You do?
Yeah. People get abducted and stuff all the time. So
I agree. Really, so what are the Black-Eyed Kids? Well, Black-Eyed Children or Black-Eyed Kids are an urban legend of paranormal creatures that resemble children and teenagers with pale skin and dark black eyes. And the eyes are completely black. Like you stare into them and there's no ending. Like there's nothing there.
Yeah.
It's like staring into a black hole. Yeah. Sometimes their clothing is outdated, like it's like from the 20s and you're seeing them now in the 2000s or something. Typically they are reported to be hitchhiking, panhandling, or knocking on neighborhood doors, and it's usually like suburban or rural neighborhoods. It's not like city neighborhoods that I've seen.
Yeah, I think it's all houses. It's not going to be your apartment building.
No. Yeah. Anyone who encounters them almost immediately begins to feel like this overwhelming sense of dread. Some history of the Black-Eyed Kids. Legends of modern-day Black-Eyed Kids started in the early 80s.
Like the Black-Eyed Peas? Did they start in the 80s?
No, they were like 2000s. They may have originated from, if like the legends and everything from before if they weren't like current with the modern day legends or connected to the modern day legends, I guess I could say. They may have originated from a 1996 article with 2 alleged encounters in Abilene, Texas in 1996, and then in Portland, Oregon, another one in Portland. In 2012, there was a horror movie called The Black-Eyed Kids, and it was Kickstarter funded. So it was all like grassroots paid for and everything, like no major companies or anything. And it was very popular.
So no CGI, no.
In 2014, the Daily Star ran 3 front page stories of Black-Eyed Children sightings. And we're going to get into some of those whenever we go over stories. So that's just a little bit of the history of the Black-Eyed Kids that I have.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is it my turn?
Yeah. Let's talk about legends.
Okay. Going way back in time, I dug...
Wait, should we do like the...
Twilight Zone? So I dug around a lot to try to find different myths and legends that
could be similar.
That are similar. They're not exact. None of them are exact, except one. But the rest, it's all about children, and some of them look like creatures. Some of them are not humanoid. But I think there were so many that were just absolutely completely different, but I was like, maybe they morphed and maybe they changed with time or whatever. So I just kept an open mind. The first one is called The Green Children of Woolpit, which I think was originally Wolf Pit, and then it's just changed.
Yeah.
And it's an ancient village in Suffolk, England. So around 1150, during the reign of King Stephen, which I'm not going to lie, I didn't research who that was. I've never heard of a King Stephen.
No, I know.
But
that sounds like fake.
Whatever.
The world wasn't around in 1150.
It's not a real year.
Not a real year.
That's not a number. A group of villagers. Well, it said I wrote found 2 children, but I think 2 children wandered into this village.
Yeah.
They had green skin.
Uh-huh.
They were speaking gibberish and they were acting really erratically and nervously.
Mm-hmm.
Allegedly, they were taken to a nearby home and they kept trying to feed the children because I think they were thin and they refused all the food, but then they were given green beans and that's like the one thing they would eat.
Is anything green? Or just green
I think
beans?
just green beans. From this story, I mean, it's that old, so it could have been bok choy for all I know.
Right.
I don't think they had bok choy in England
No.
back then. But over the years and a change of diet, their green complexion went away. So I think they were just green because all they were eating was green beans. So
green stuff.
Like carrots. If you eat too many carrots, your skin turns orange.
Right.
The children slowly learned English, and then they were asked where they came from and how they came to Woolpit. Some of the quotes of these children one was, "We are inhabitants of the land of St. Martin, who is regarded with peculiar veneration in the country which gave us birth." Which, it sounds bizarre, but for that time, I don't know, that's probably how they all
probably Shakespeare or whatever.
Yeah. Shakespeare was not.
I think that's like 800 years later.
Think older.
Game of Thrones.
Ironically, the next thing is we are ignorant of how we arrived here. We only remember this, that on a certain day when we were feeding our father's flocks in the fields, we heard a great sound, such as we are now accustomed to hear at St. Edmund's when the bells are chiming. And whilst listening to the sound in admiration, we became on a sudden, as it were, entranced and found ourselves among you in the fields where you were reaping. So I think they wandered into a field while they were harvesting
farming
or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
And the last quote I have from them, quote, is, "The sun does not rise upon our countrymen. Our land is little cheered by its beams. We are contented with that twilight which among you precedes the sunrise or follows the sunset. Moreover, a certain luminosity country is seen not far distant from ours and divided from it by a very considerable river."
Okay. Or an ocean.
Yeah, they're kind of giving a geography.
Yeah.
Little hints here and there. Shortly after they learned English and they stopped being greenish, they were baptized, and the boy soon died of a mysterious illness.
Oh.
The girl, Agnes, did not write what the boy's name was, grew up and she married the Archdeacon of Ely, and supposedly they had at least one child.
So they might still have a family line.
Right.
Which are aliens.
Okay, so there's a theory that they're Finnish.
Uh-huh.
Because if you were a child from a different country and and you had this horrible diet because you've been living in the woods or whatever you've been doing, although do you find green beans in the woods? I don't know.
Well, they might have eaten grass.
Yeah, or leaves or whatever they could find. And speaking gibberish, if you're in Suffolk, England in 1150, how much Finnish do you hear?
Yeah.
There's probably not a lot.
Yeah.
So I think they were just lost children, malnourished, eating green stuff, so their skin was greenish. They just didn't speak English because that's not where they were from.
Yeah.
I only picked them because it's just strange children out of history, but they're most likely human.
Yes.
If they were real.
Right.
So I'm going to get into the less real sounding ones of ancient times. I'm probably going to butcher this, but I did write it in phonetic spelling. Slua is It means host in Irish. So this is a Celtic legend. They were fairy folk from Ireland folktales. So they're this, those folktales go back thousands of years for Celtic, whatever. They're an ancient people. They were also called the underfolk, the wild hunt, or the host of unforgiven dead, which I'll talk about that later. The type of fairy, this specific type of fairy, they were called like ill-begotten fae folk. So they were, I don't know what that means, how they became ill-begotten.
Yeah.
They were more feared than death itself.
Oh.
So before being influenced by Christianity, which is a theme here in every single legend I have, they become influenced by Christianity.
Go figure.
Yeah. Which really annoyed me, but whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it's super annoying. Christianity just like
changed everything.
Did. And
yeah. It's really annoying.
The theory, it's a mystery for another day.
Christianity? Yes.
Or conspiracy, actually.
Are we going to prove that Jesus was the Son of God? Or do the Buddhists have it right? So before they were influenced by colonizers, the Slua were believed to be, like I said, fae gone amok, which I just liked that description.
Yeah.
Or ill-begotten fairies. They have no reason, no loyalty, and no mercy, which is a lot of things to not have.
Yeah.
As Christianity was introduced in Ireland and Scotland, they became the souls of sinners. So it was like you died if you were a sinner, or you weren't baptized, you became. Yep. See that I rolled? That's exactly what I did. But then it kept happening. Anyway. So what I wrote was that a Slua is basically an ancient Dementor from Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Literally, doesn't help that I just watched all those movies, but it is.
Yeah.
Even before then, I was like, so it's a Dementor. That's basically what you're saying. They exist off of human souls, specifically the dying. They hide during the day and appear to be flocks of massive birds after dark.
Oh, okay.
So they're humanoid, but not humanoid. They're described as haggard, which is just a good word. Not Hagrid. Get away from the Harry Potter. Haggard.
It's hard to disconnect right now. I'm sorry.
Okay. Thin and bird-like. So I think their skin was like just barely clinging to bone. Like they were really, they had leathery wings, which were tucked into their bodies, which could resemble a cape or a cloak.
Mm-hmm.
They had bony hands and feet, sparse hair, which I picture like Gollum.
Yeah.
Gnarled and pointy teeth and a beak-like mouth. They do not resemble the living. So this is where I don't think they're like black-eyed kids, but I was like, maybe they've morphed over these thousands of years. They've evolved, if evolution is the theory we're going with.
Right.
In Irish myths specifically, it is said that the Slua fly from the west to take a dying soul. So to this day, sometimes if you have someone sick or dying in your house, all the westward windows and doors will be closed.
So, okay.
I'm thinking of like, I made a lot of connections with they need to be invited inside, kind of like vampires, which is the reason I don't have a welcome mat, because I feel like that's just an open invitation.
For vampires.
No, you can't come in. You can also call them to you, apparently just by saying it aloud at night, which I did. So I'll let you know what happens. Because I was trying to figure out how to pronounce it. And I'm Irish, so please don't.
Please.
Don't want to. Or through the silent hopelessness of one's heart, which is the saddest thing ever. Once you've gotten the attention of them, of the Slua, the only way to deter it is to place someone else in their path, which is horrific. So if one comes for me, I'm going to shove you in front of it.
Sacrifice.
They can take happy, healthy souls, but you also can defeat them. You can outrun them or lock yourself in your house, which is what made me think of black-eyed kids.
Yeah.
If your soul is taken by the Slua, there is no afterlife or underworld. You become one of them. for eternity. I have no interest in trying to debunk legends that are thousands of years old. But one theory mentions that fairies were once worshipped as gods, but as Christianity became more prominent, they began to lose their power. So many magical beings are called fairies in older writings, and Victorians describe myths as things that could be taken literally, and that fairies were just metaphors or stars in the night sky, which I was like, that's cute.
Yeah.
Even though most fairies are tricksters and not the nicest. So fairies are typically known as tricksters, but there are good, bad, and downright evil fairies. And there's also the belief in changelings, which is the theory.
Yes.
So if you had a child, which is another child one, I didn't go into it, but if you have, because it's not really the same, but if you had a child or a young person and then they started acting very strangely or differently or whatever, the belief is that a fairy came in, or a changeling, which is a type of fairy, and they replaced that person, and that's why bad things are happening.
Just like the Angelina Jolie movie, which was like really freaking good.
It was just really long.
Yeah, it was really long, but I don't mind. Like, if I'm enamored by a story or captured in that story, like, I don't mind how long it is.
Well, and that story's true, which makes it more horrific.
Yep.
Do you have aliens in your house?
No.
It might be the Slua.
The Slua.
So the only reason I bring them into this is because my thoughts on their BEK connection was the idea that locking them out keeps the evil at bay, which it seems to be with we'll learn when we tell your stories, but if you don't let them in, they can't hurt you.
Right.
Or to the idea that black-eyed kids are ill-begotten fae folk. Maybe they're not Slua, but maybe they're something ancient that's just evil. I don't know.
Yeah.
Only because most magic peoples are considered fairy folk throughout mythology, not just Celtic. It's, in a lot of different places. So that's my cultural history one. I was like, I want to find all the Irish just because I'm selfish.
Yeah, no, that's all right.
We're going to move on to Scandinavia. I think specifically Sweden, but I don't know. I think it's pronounced Mylings, Mylings. Mylings?
Okay.
I think it's Mylings.
Okay.
To put it simply, a Myling is an unwanted or murdered child. So, like they weren't buried properly. So, like if a woman was pregnant and couldn't take care of the baby and she went and had it in the woods or whatever and killed it, or just abandoned it in the woods, out of wedlock or whatever, they take on the form of a child and are said to jump on the backs of the first person they meet and demand to be brought to a cemetery for a proper burial. So I think a big thing is them just trying to find peace. They'll often haunt, like if the woman that abandoned them or left them for dead or whatever has, gets married and has a family, it's said that the child will wander back to that home and be like requesting to be buried properly in like the family graveyard or whatever. On the way so once they jump on the people's back, it says on the way they drain the human energy and sometimes the humans die of overexertion. So there's also another story where a man was walking, he heard one, it jumped on his back and it said something about, hey, let me nurse. And he said something about like your mother's not here. No. Accurate, but no. He said something that allowed the Myling to enter his house. So when he went home, his young daughter was dead and had like blood like coming from her tits, basically. Just horrific.
Yeah.
It is said that since the children died at such a young age, even though it never learned to speak, it actually speaks like an adult.
Yeah.
So its language sounds strange.
Advanced. Oh.
Yeah. Well, because you wouldn't imagine a small child speaking like adult. Oh yeah, the word Myling comes from Sweden and it means murdered. So it's just murdered.
Yeah.
I couldn't find any theories behind what the Mealings could be. But one website, okay. So because like references for urban legends can be real suspect.
Yeah.
One website said, not to bring up Harry Potter again, but one website told me that you could use a spell like Wingardium Leviosa to move them, which it's not real.
Yeah.
So I thought that was funny because it was like a serious website and it was like, you can use a spell like this one or Wingardium Leviosa. And I was like, no.
Wow.
That's not I'm not going to quote anything from this website except that because I think it's funny.
It is funny. Yeah.
Let's move on. We're going to go south to the Philippines. I didn't look up how to say this. Tiyanak. Tiyanak. I have no clue how to spell. I like just learned how to say Tagalog, so I don't know. Tiyanak. Tiyanak. Yeah.
Tiyanak. Yeah.
So sorry to any Filipino listeners. My apologies. A humanoid monster of the Philippines. It sounds basically like a vampire legend, but it disguises itself as a baby or a toddler to trick people into going into the woods or fields by pretending to be abandoned. So if you were walking through the woods and all of a sudden you hear a baby crying, it might not be a baby.
Yeah, like how every horror movie in the woods starts. Like you hear something and you're like...
Or how real predators in the real world might trick you and play a recording of a baby so you go outside. Oops. Terrible. It's on hearing its cry, if you approach and pick one up, it will shed its disguise and attack you. And it really looks like a small bald-headed goblin. It has sharp teeth, one short leg and one longer, and bloodshot eyes.
Yeah. This sounds like the goblins in Harry Potter. I'm sorry, but this is all about Harry Potter.
All about Harry Potter. It's perfect for Halloween. If you didn't do 13 days of Halloween, then here you are. We'll bring you through all of them. JK had to get her inspiration from somewhere.
Yeah.
Let's see.
And God knows it wasn't the transgenders.
Terrible. So bad.
Yeah, she's horrible.
It's really awful. Even watching them the other day, I was like, is she getting money from this? Probably.
Yeah.
Damn it. I'll legally watch it next time so she can't.
Yeah. So she doesn't make anything off it.
There are different theories of where the legend of the Tiyanak came from. One is that they're simply stillborn babies that were born in the forest. So same idea as the Mealings. They're very, very similar. There's another theory is that after Christian influences were introduced to the Philippines by the Spanish, the Tiyanaks were unbaptized stillborn babies.
Oh my God.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, this is a theme I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Colonizers. Yeah, because when the Spanish missionaries who wanted to convert the people of the Philippines to Catholicism, especially the missionaries from the Spanish from Mexico, which I didn't, is because it has a striking similarities to an old Aztec legend called the Chinacua. I'm definitely not pronouncing that right, but whatever. It's not. I give up on all the pronunciations. So let's talk about the Chinacua really quick. This one's really short. Like the Slua, they stole souls. But like the Tiyanak of the Philippines, they like to lead people astray and leave them wandering in the jungle. They appeared as small men and women who were wrinkly and old. And after Cortez took over the Aztecs, the friars used the Aztecs' beliefs to sway them towards Catholicism. And then I wrote, yes, the patterns of colonization.
Right.
They explained that the Chinacua were the child demons that were unbaptized stillborn children who were possessed by the devil. So Christians basically just took all of these legends and then tried to sway the people's beliefs towards Catholicism by giving them
tried to make their story fit. Yeah.
Which I feel like ruins people's myths and legends and old stories from, and those are a lot of those people are all oral history. So if it gets changed and someone tells it incorrectly, then that's how it's going to be remembered, which sucks.
Yep.
All right, my last one. Oh, I have to read this one because this one's cute. It has nothing to do with anything. In France, there are fairy folk called fayettes, like Rockettes, but fayettes. They're supposedly descended from Greek nymphs, and they switch human children for their changelings. So same theory.
Concept.
They dance in the woods in Kourou and Beaujolais, and at night they clean their gossamer linens, which I don't know what that means, but they are petite fées. So they're small, who sometimes take the form of moles, and this is why moles have pretty pink little hands. And I thought that was the cutest description of why a mole looks like a mole. So I just wanted to put that in there for anyone's little smiling enjoyment because I thought it was the cutest thing.
That is cute.
I literally wrote, LOL, this is just cute as fuck. So now I think moles are fairies. So this is the last one, the Otcon, which is an Iroquois legend. I only found this on one website, so I don't know. I'm not saying it's inaccurate.
But you don't know how accurate it is. There weren't any other sources.
Right. Right, where the Irish ones have, tons of people talk about them, and this is the one website I could find these on. Because I heard it on a different podcast, so I wanted to find my own sources, but it kind of couldn't. So the Iroquois, they talk about good energies and bad energies. The Orenda is the good, and the Otcon is the bad. Again, this is oral history, so spelling, pronunciation, it might be different. So I might not have even known how to look it up. It could have been spelt completely differently.
Right.
Otcon is just a broad term for evil, negative energy, or an energy that can possess, destroy, or be used as a weapon against people or animals. There are 6 tribes within the Iroquois, and we're specifically speaking about I did not write what their real names were, but the Mohawks.
Okay.
Which is, people used to call them, like other tribes would call them that.
Yeah.
To make people afraid of them, I think. So it's not the best. They have an actual name, but I didn't write it down. And even if I did, I can't pronounce it.
Yeah.
It was a big word. So they have what they call the evil-minded one, which again, try Googling that. There's no, you can't. It's like impossible.
You'll get so many hits that aren't referenced to this at all.
Exactly. So according to Iroquois legend, the evil-minded one was a snake-like demonic creature, not demonic. That word specifically comes from Christianity. You're welcome. Who would make itself appear in human form and try to lay with Iroquois women. And the resulting offspring were pale children with black eyes.
Ooh.
These children were often killed only a day or two after their births. Like their eyes were open and they went, hell fucking no. And they killed them immediately.
Gone. Next one.
Moving on. The other way the evil-minded one would prey on children were the ones who wandered or became lost alone in the woods. And they would become infected with the evil, the Otcon, and return to the villages empty with black eyes. And they became like little bidding agents for the evil-minded one.
Oh.
Which explains why black-eyed children, there are babies, but there are some that are, like you said, they're usually a little bit older, teenagers.
Yep.
The children were known to repeat themselves, pace nervously, and they caused havoc among the villages. And it is said that they were ferocious and mean, and some may even have had a taste for human flesh.
Wow. This is so similar.
It's very, very similar. Well, they even, on the one website, they even talk about black-eyed kids. That's why I was like, this is questionable, but I'm not saying it's not real. It totally could be.
Right. There's just no...
Yeah. I couldn't...
surefire reference for it.
Right. And the website seems... I don't know. Anyway. I couldn't find... Like I said, I couldn't find any information. about any of it. The Otcon, the Arenda, the evil-minded one, none of it. Out of all of these ancient stories, because I went through so many. I looked in African myths, I looked in Norse, English, Celtic. I tried to kind of go Aztec, Mayan, different Native American ones. So these are really the only ones I found that were somewhat similar or made me think of Black-Eyed Kids. But this one is the most, like you said, it's the most like them.
Yeah.
With wreaking havoc, their black eyes, deep-rooted connections to evil. I think they sound the most likely.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they've lived all these years and are appearing now as the Black-Eyed Kids, which are out of time and out of place.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're getting something.
Right. And that's your ancient legends portion of this podcast.
Muy interesante.
Thank you. It's all Harry Potter.
Yeah. So basically just watch all 10 Harry Potter films on bootleg because we don't want to
give her money.
I love that.
You got allergies? I've been having crazy boogers lately too.
Yeah, my allergies have been horrible lately. Horrible. So now let's get into some of the stories on Black-Eyed Kids and just see how they interact in modern day. I was gonna say modern day history, but it's just an oxymoron. So.
So I would research this at night because I would forget to do it in the day. But then a lot of websites, when you click on them, have GIFs and pictures and stuff. And there was one that I saw of this little, I'm sure she's precious in real life, this little blonde girl. And she was facing the back. And then she would whip her hair around. And she was skinny and had this creepy ass smile and then black eyes. And I was like, and I just shut my computer. I don't know why I'm doing this
today.
at nighttime.
I'm not participating in this.
I was like, I have to do research, but if you're going to keep posting pictures, I'm not into it.
I saw some pictures, but it was pictures from the movies and stuff. It wasn't actual creepy. I wasn't creeped out by them.
Good for you.
Yeah. So let's start with the original modern day, which was the writer from 1996 posted this story. It was around 9:30 p.m. on January 16th, 1996. The writer had stopped in a parking lot near a movie theater to write a check for his internet bill because you can't 90s. Pay things online. It's the 90s.
My mom used to write checks to buy groceries.
Yeah, my mom did too. So he was using the lights to write the check out, and he was going to drop it off in the drop box of the company, of the internet company. So he was so absorbed in the process of this that he didn't notice that two young boys were approaching his car. The older boy tapped on his driver's side window, and that's when he looked up and he saw these two boys. He rolled down his window and immediately noticed a soul-racking fear within him that he couldn't explain. He just had this sense of it. The two boys were about 10 and 14 years old. Mm-hmm. Boy one was slightly taller than his companion, so I'm assuming it's the 14-year-old looking one.
Yeah.
He was wearing a pullover hooded shirt with a gray check pattern and jeans. His skin was olive colored, so
Italian.
Yeah. Olive colored, curly, medium length brown hair, and he exuded an air of quiet confidence.
I meant Portuguese. I don't know why I said Italian. No, some Italians have olive skin. Sorry,
some do,
continue.
yeah. I was thinking olive oil.
Oh, Popeye.
Yeah. So boy two had pale skin with a trace of freckles on his face. His primary characteristics seemed to be looking around nervously, that's what he was. I guess he was the lookout or something. Mm-hmm. He was dressed similarly, but his pullover was a light green color. Mm-hmm. And his hair was a pale orange, but it could have been it's dark out and you have neon lights from a movie theater, so it could have been reflecting off of those.
God forbid the black-eyed children are gingers.
Yeah, I mean, just make it worse.
My hair is dyed orange. That's mean.
They didn't appear to be related, so the two boys looked different enough that they didn't look like brothers or anything.
So one was Olive and one was not.
Yeah, one was not. The older boy said that he and his brother wanted to catch a movie, Mortal Kombat, which was out at the time, and they had forgotten their money at home. So they wanted to see if the guy would give them a ride home, grab their money, and they could come back and watch the movie. They promised it wouldn't take long. He's like, "Oh, we're just two kids, and we don't have a gun, or anything." So here's an exact quote from the article that the child said. "Come on, mister, we just want to go to our house, and we're just two little boys. Come on, let us in. We can't get into your car until you let us in. Just let us in, and we'll be gone before you know it. We'll go right to our mother's house, or we'll go to our mother's house."
They said they didn't have a gun. Why would anyone?
Yes.
Why does you don't say that?
No, you don't.
Unless you have a gun.
Yeah, and so that was like one thing that he thought was bizarre was, okay.
Yeah.
So he found their assurances unnerving and noted that the last showing of the film that they wanted to see had already started. So by the time like they ran there and back, it would be over.
Right.
Or almost over. So there's no point in seeing it. He started unlocking the doors subconsciously. Like he started the action of it.
Ugh.
And then he caught himself. So when he broke eye contact with them, his fear, like that he was the dread and everything just became all encompassing. He looked back and noticed that their eyes were completely blacked out. The older boy began to get frustrated when the man made excuses for not giving them a ride. Like, oh no, trying to push them off and stuff. And said that they didn't want to get into the car unless Bethel said it was okay, unless the writer said that it was okay.
Yeah.
They couldn't get into the car. And then after that, he just tore out of the parking lot. And to this day, he stands by his story, like to this day, still says, yeah, they were black-eyed kids,
I heard him talk on a podcast about it. And he was saying like all of his writing was always very credible because he was like a journalist. So there's kind of no reason not to believe him. Really.
Right. I mean, he doesn't seem to fabricate things.
Yeah.
Is what it boils down to.
Ugh. I hate all of it.
Yeah.
I joke around, but I don't like it.
Yeah. So let's get into the Daily Star reports, which were the English newspaper that I had mentioned. In September 2014, they ran the full-page articles of a black-eyed girl who was terrorizing the area of Canuck Chase. Canuck?
I'm not English. I am English, but I don't know.
Yeah. A local woman heard a terrifying scream. It sounded like a child in danger. So she ran to look for the child, but didn't see anyone. She then saw a girl dressed in white behind her with her hands over her eyes, and the child was silent. The woman asked if the girl was all right and the girl removed her hands from her face, and her eyes were completely black, just black holes. The woman started running and looked back, and the child was gone. The Daily Star reporter also claimed that his own aunt had seen the same girl over 30 years earlier in 1982. He said that his aunt had heard the girl calling for help before seeing her dressed in white and running away from her. The aunt caught up to the girl and placed a hand on her shoulder just to see if she was okay. The girl turned, and the aunt noticed that her eyes were completely black. The girl then turned and continued to run before disappearing.
Sorry.
The last story from this article was in April 2015. A video taken from a drone flying over the fields of Canuck Chase appeared on YouTube. In the background, some believed that the drone unintentionally caught a strange girl dressed in white, matching the same descriptions and everything. So they think that it was caught on this drone.
Yeah.
A medium in the area believes that she managed to capture a photograph of the girl. She also claimed that the girl is the spirit of a child who died of diphtheria during the Victorian era.
Well, that's beautiful.
Yeah, right? Those who do suffer from the disease also suffer from a paralysis of the eyes, which makes them appear dark and sunken, which I thought was really interesting. Like, if these are ghosts, if that's the route that like we would go down for the theory, I could definitely see diphtheria being,
Yeah.
Children that died of diphtheria, their lives were cut short and from this disease and everything. And I could see them coming back and haunting the shit out of us. They've got to get their thrills somewhere.
Their thrills and kills.
Yeah. Here's a couple of quicker stories around, or shorter stories, I should say. There were strange in France, 1974.
So before 1996.
Before 96, before the 80s. But this story...
And after the 60s.
And after the 60s. But after all of the theories and legends that you mentioned.
Right. Just so we know where we are in time.
Yeah, in time. In the small village, God, I'm going to butcher this, of Ain. Let's just say Ain. It's Aisne.
It's
Ain.
probably...
It's Ain.
Okay, sorry. I was like, I speak some French, but I don't know how to pronounce that, and I was gonna try to help you.
I didn't realize there were S's in French.
It is in French.
French.
Not at the end, but in the middle. You would say it. Isni? I have no idea. Say it how you want.
Well, I'm not going to mention it again.
That was a fun argument.
Two men, we only know them as Elaine and Patrick. They were driving and they were turning down a road. As they slowed to make their turn, they saw 5 figures staring at them from the lawn of a house.
5?
5. So, like, sporadically on the lawn, just staring at the car, right?
I hate that.
Yeah. So they were all about 4 feet tall and dressed in the same long garments. Their hair was down to their waists, and they each had solid black eyes and gestured the men to come into the yard. Like, come here. The men sped away. And apparently they came back just to, like, see, but the figures were all gone. Like, there was nothing there.
How, if you're in a car... How can you tell what their eyes look like?
So you're slowing down to make the turn. And you're slowing down to make the turn. So I think, like, as you're slowing, like, maybe there's a stop sign or something there. Like, you stop and you look and they're like, oh, shit, there's 5 black-eyed kids just staring at me.
Ugh.
The next story comes from a U.S. Marine. So I think that holds a lot of credibility. Mm-hmm. He was in...
Camp
Lejeune in North Carolina.
Yeah. That's how I would say it.
November 2009. A U.S. Marine was near the barracks watching a movie alone in his room. There was a knock on the door and he assumed it's his roommate. So he opened the door right away and saw 2 children standing out there. Immediately, he was filled with dread and went to slam the door when he noticed their black eyes. He asked what they wanted, and they claimed that they wanted to come inside because it was cold. He slammed the door shut, and the children began knocking and knocking and knocking for several minutes, just like pounding on the door.
I don't like it when the UPS guy knocks on my door.
Yeah. Then the windows begin rattling, and then, so you have all of this going on, and then all of a sudden everything stops. He asked around the next morning, but no one else experienced anything similar or saw children running around or anything like that.
So it wasn't an earthquake.
Right.
Because an earthquake, everyone would have felt it.
Yeah, and you wouldn't see children during an earthquake.
I mean, you could if they were alone and needed, but not in a U.S., like a barracks or whatever.
Plus, it's North Carolina. I don't know how many earthquakes they get.
None?
Yeah.
I'm used to them now.
Yeah. So let's hop into this next one. It's the strange tale of Carrie Kisner. No, I was right. Another North Carolina tale. She was at Wake Tech Community College in Raleigh, and she was 20 years old and took a detour while driving home and stopped at the Triangle Town Center Mall.
Been there.
Have you?
No.
Oh. So after, she ran in, did her errands, she ran out. She was heading back to her car in the parking lot, and she noticed a sick-looking boy talking with an older lady. The boy looked pale with dark rings around his eyes. He was about 12 years old. He had a rigid, unnatural posture, which is always super creepy. Like, I was watching a movie the other day, and this one girl just, like, came up the stairs backwards, and then whenever, like, there was the scare moment, you know, she like cracked her back and like did like a
Were you watching The Unborn?
No, it was the HBO show that we were talking about.
Yeah.
So it was super creepy. So I just always find that uneasy.
Yeah, it's very unsettling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The older woman was looking for something in her purse. Carrie suddenly became aware that there were very few people around, so not that many people in the parking lot at that time. She had an uneasy feeling and started to walk faster to her car. As she passed them, she noticed that the boy's eyes were black, gaping holes. The boy turned and walked away from the old lady, like away from Carrie and the old lady. And that's it.
Like just ran it like sporadically and just like turned around and walked away.
Yeah.
No. It's funny because I know that we're like laughing and making fun of things, but in reality, out of all urban legends, Slua, come get me. Like, I don't think they're not unsettling. How Black-Eyed Kids are unsettling. And I know other people that aren't even into urban legends that know some of these stories, and they also find them unsettling. So
that's very yeah. Do you want to tell a couple of these?
Sure.
A couple of these stories?
Well, one woman makes the awful mistake of letting them in her house. January 2016, so 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm not good at math. Yes. A report appeared to be on the internet from an unnamed woman. She claimed to live in Vermont in the middle of a blizzard one evening in 2015, so really 5 years ago.
Yeah.
There was a loud knock at the front door. She thought someone was in a car accident and felt like it was an emergency. So obviously you would want to help.
Yeah.
Especially out in the blizzard. Vermont is all trees and hills and nothing.
Mountains,
cows,
everything. Yeah.
Ben and Jerry's and maple syrup.
Vermont.
She walked by, and out the window on her way to the door, she saw footprints leading to the house, but there was no sign of a vehicle on the road. So she woke her husband up, and the banging on the door continued, like you said, just knocking incessantly.
Knock.
Yeah. Anyway, husband answered the door, and there were two children on the doorstep, a boy and a girl around 8 years old. The wife said they were not dressed for the cold conditions outside. But she immediately felt unnerved by their presence. I feel unnerved reading this.
Yeah.
She invited the two children inside. As they walked through to the living room, her cats appeared to be afraid, and one in particular was hissing at them as they passed. And I remember hearing this story at one point, and they were saying that her cats were really, that one particular cat was not afraid. It was usually very friendly.
I do remember that
snuggly. Too. Yeah. So that was a big deal. Like, if you have a snuggly cat that's hissing at someone, you're like, that person's a pedophile. You stay away from them. But if they're 8 years old, obviously, 8-year-olds.
Yeah.
Moving on. Oh my God. Before I get sidetracked. She offered to make them some cocoa to warm them up. Anytime she asked a question, the kids would say, "Our parents will be here soon." She brought them cocoa, and when they made eye contact, she noticed that their eyes were completely black. No pupils, none of the white, nothing. Just completely blank, black holes.
That's the creepiest part is when that's actually noticed. Like, that's the height of the story. Then everything's fucking downhill from there.
Right. Like, there's no good ending.
No.
They both suddenly asked if they could use the bathroom. I hate this part of the story. She showed them where the bathroom was. Then her husband's nose began to bleed. And then the power suddenly went out. This is a horror movie, like perfectly a horror movie.
Yeah.
As the woman attempted to make her way to get her husband to tissue, she noticed both children standing at the end of the hall, motionless and staring at her. And this is in the dark, and something just cracked, and that scared the shit out of me. It's Franz. So just imagine these creepy children are in your house. You show them to the bathroom, and then you're leaving, and they're both just standing in the dark looking at you.
Yeah.
Ugh. They said, "Our parents are here," and they left through the front door. The woman went to close the door and saw the children getting into a black car. The car had 2 tall men dressed in suits standing next to it. Men in black.
Yeah, I was just going to say, get the flasher out.
Yeah. The men got in the car and drove away. In the months following, because this is one of the very few stories where people actually let them in.
Right.
The woman's husband was diagnosed with an aggressive form of skin cancer. The woman then began to suffer from irregular nosebleeds and described herself as being in the worst condition of her life. I think her husband lived, though. Didn't he?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't see the ending to that.
I thought he did, but I could be wrong.
And this is like a woman posting her story on Reddit, so
right.
We don't know exactly who she is.
But it is told elsewhere. I've seen it on different sites and heard it. Yeah. I just don't. Why would you let them in? Okay. I get it. I get it. They're preying on, like, I'm innocent. I'm a child. And this is.
Yeah.
We're going to move on to Harold Meets the Devil.
Uh-oh.
That sounds like a book I would read.
Yeah. Okay. So there was a children's book, Harold and the Purple Crayon. And it was one of my favorites growing up. But basically, like, it's this boy and he's in like onesie pajamas. And he's got to be maybe 2 or 3 years old.
And he has black eyes.
Yeah. But like not creepy black eyes.
Oh, wait, really?
Yeah. But like he's a cartoon.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
he has a purple crayon, and like throughout the whole book, it's just him drawing on the world and like drawing so different things. It's the cutest book. I love it.
I've never heard of it. That's so cute.
Yeah.
Well, he grows up and he meets the devil in 1950 in Virginia. This is the earliest known account of black-eyed children
that aren't
ancient.
legends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said known.
Yeah.
Too. So.
Of modern day.
Yeah.
Black-eyed kids.
Black-eyed peas.
Black-eyed peas.
I got a feeling. A 16-year-old boy known as Harold. Why is that? Oh, like who knows if that's really his name?
I think, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think.
Oh, I know this one too. I don't like this one either. I don't like any of them. Harold was walking home one afternoon when he came across another boy leaning against a fence. A fence? Harold attempted to speak to him, but received no response. He was about to walk off when the boy suddenly said to Harold, "I want to go to your house. You're going to walk me up to your house." That's so repetitive and weird. Anyway. Mm-hmm. Harold then noticed the blackness of the boy's eyes. The boy yelled, "Oh, no." Harold then began to contemplate turning and running home, like a smart boy.
Yeah.
The boy yelled, "Now don't you run away from me. You're going to walk me up to your house." Harold turned and ran. So good for him. Good boy.
Yeah.
He heard a scream behind him, a scream that sounded similar to a bobcat. I don't know what that sounds like.
I don't either. Maybe we could like play a bobcat sound.
Is that I have always imagined like a bunny scream, which is horrible.
Let me look it up. Hang on. Okay, let me share my
Ew.
Okay, hang on. Let me go back.
That sounds like a troll. Well, that was cat-like. A crow?
These are cute.
Yeah.
Bobcats are cute.
They are really cute with their little stub tails. The little furry things on their ears.
Yeah.
We have bobcats where I grew up, but they're not. I've never seen one. They're not. No. They're very hidden.
Yeah.
They don't like coming out. I'm keeping all of that in.
Yeah. Or we can use it as our preview. Yeah.
which is a picture of a bobcat. So that was the scream he heard. Whichever you can pick which one you like the best.
Yeah.
He told his parents and they believed him. So he must have been a truthful little Christian boy. I don't know. It's Virginia in the 50s, so I'm just assuming.
Yeah.
His father was said to have grabbed his gun and immediately gone out looking for the boy. His mother thought her son had an encounter with the devil himself and took him to the local priest. I said it correctly. A good little Christian boy.
Yep.
And that's that.
Now let's travel to November 2012, Louisiana. It's 3 a.m., so it's the devil's hour.
It's the witching hour.
Sure.
Not
the witching
devil's
hour.
Never heard of the devil's hour.
Okay, because it's a thing. We're going to Google
it. Is it? I know the witching hour. The witching hour is a thing.
So there's a movie called The Devil's Hour. Yeah, it's the witching hour.
Yeah.
I think
the witching hour is 3 a.m.
It is.
Because 3 is a significant number.
It is 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Why is 3 a.m. called the devil's hour? But like, it's all like reverting back to the witching hour. So it must just be like, I probably heard it in the movie The Devil's Hour.
Yeah.
Or something like that, and just like went with it.
Sorry, I didn't mean to attack your thing. I was like, that's not a thing.
Lonely Northeast Georgia. No. Lonely Northeast Louisiana gas station off the highway. Okay. The station attendant was going about his normal duties when the power went out. He used his cell phone as a flashlight to go to the backup generator. So the lights came back on whenever he turned them back on, but only in the parking lot and the hall that led to the register. So they were still like in the main part of the convenience area. They were still
like maybe he needed to like do the breakers or something.
Yeah, something like that. But there had been heavy winds that night, so he wasn't like shocked that the power went out or nervous or anything.
Louisiana, they have storms down there,
right?
Yeah.
He noticed something moving at the edge of the darkness, like in the parking lot. He watched for several minutes and eventually making out what looked to be 3 children riding bikes. As soon as he saw them, 2 of them leapt from their bikes and made their way over to the gas station. They stopped at the doorway and stood staring at the attendant. He made his way to the door, opened it, and asked the 2 children if they were okay. He made a comment about it being so late for kids to be out and roaming around near the highway. 3 a.m. I mean,
yeah, on bikes.
Yeah.
In 2012, in the 80s, fine.
Yeah, but not 2012. But I guess, like, I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, if it's rural.
Yeah, it is. And so I could see them sneaking out and their parents not
yeah.
And stuff. So one of them, a young girl, asked him if she could use the phone. He handed her his cell phone, and her eyes met his, and the attendant could see that they were solid black orbs. So she yelled at him, "No, I need the real one." And overcome by fear, he pushed the door shut and locked it in one move. The children stared at the attendant through the window and then got back on their bikes and rode off. The following morning, the attendant told his boss of the ordeal and requested that he go through the security cameras. So they had been off due to the power outage. So there's no footage.
They were.
Yeah. It is not known if the power going out was connected to the black-eyed children arrival or if it was just coincidence.
I don't believe in coincidences.
No.
Not to quote Sherlock, but the universe is rarely so lazy.
Yeah.
Ugh. Know the real one. Maybe they don't know.
The real one what?
Why would they need a landline?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know.
I'm picturing there's an episode of The Twilight Zone, like an old one, not this new crap. And a woman died and she kept getting calls from her dead husband or something. And then one day, oh no, she didn't die. Her husband died and she kept getting calls from her husband. And there was a phone line down that was touching his grave. And that's all I can think of.
Creepy.
Like maybe the line needs to be a physical thing. I don't know.
Do you want to read our next story?
Sure. Strange teenagers in Ohio. That just sounds normal.
Yeah.
In Ohio, July 2010, a man that goes by the name Noetic. Does that mean he's not poetic?
It just means that he was hiding his real name.
Oh.
For fear of judgment or from fear of being found by the Black-Eyed Kids again.
Because they read Reddit.
Yeah.
Creepypasta. The Black-Eyed Kids own creepypasta.
We don't know the depth of their intelligence, you know?
That's true. I don't think they're in charge, though. That's for theories. So this man, Noetic, who was not poetic, maybe he is, I don't know, was working at a data center. Data center? Data center.
I think it goes either way.
I just wanted to know how you said it.
I say it data.
Okay. I don't know how I say it. It's like, I don't say route either. I say route.
I say it depends on like what I'm talking about. If I'm referencing Route 66, I say Route 66.
Yeah.
If I'm referencing
like going a different
route, right, I'll say route.
I guess I say that too. I don't know.
That mine are interchangeable.
Anyway, Noetic took a smoke break at 5 a.m. 2 teenager boys were across the street. They were staring right at him, but were motionless. He felt immediately unnerved when he saw them and went back inside. To be honest, it might be a girl thing, but just standing somewhere and having 2 people just staring at you is unnerving no matter who they are.
No, yeah. I would be nervous.
Yeah. I'd be like, they're trying to rob me or they're gonna. Yeah. I don't. 10 minutes later, the intercom from the front door buzzed. He looked at the cameras and it was the 2 boys. He intercommed to them and asked what they wanted. They didn't answer. They just stared at the camera. He asked them to leave and went back to work. 10 minutes later, they were still there. So he went to confront them. I mean, that makes sense. If you're a grown man, you'd be like, get out. Like, you're whatever, not supposed to be here. Before he opened the door, he looked at them through the one-way glass. Does that mean only he can see them?
Yeah, so it's like a tinted glass.
Like tinted? Okay.
Yeah.
Their eyes were completely black. He still opened the door, about to threaten to call the cops. But one of the boys said before he could even speak, "That will not be necessary, sir. We simply need to use your phone. Can you let us in?" Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Noetic said no. Yeah, no. I will call them for you.
Yeah.
And said no one is allowed in. They asked again to be invited in. Pushy. Creepy fucking fuckheads. Noetic pulled out his cell and said he was calling the police. He closed the door and went back to the cameras. He saw one boy at the door. Oh, and one ran. I don't like that.
Yeah.
He saw one boy at the door and the other ran to the back of the building and started staring at the other camera. That is so creepy.
I know.
Oh, gross. Okay. Noetic called the police and watched the boys make their way to a blind spot on the security. That's even worse. Stop it. It. He never saw them again. And when the police arrived, there were no sign of the teenagers. I've never heard that one. I don't like it.
Yeah. I read that one and I was like, stop it. Okay, so now let's go into our last story here. Jim Stills. He was sitting on his porch smoking a cigar in Massachusetts.
No, that's too close to my home.
Yeah. He noticed a strange young boy walking along the street awkwardly. He had seen the boy night after night, so this is like a reoccurring thing. He saw him, and then he saw him, and then he saw him. And for reasons he couldn't explain, he felt more and more uneasy with each passing evening. He quit his nightly routine. I think that he quit smoking in general, and kept a lookout from the inside of his house. The young boy continued to appear each night, roaming the street with a stiff walk. Jim's interest in the boy declined, and he eventually forgot about the strange sightings altogether. One evening, he went out to have a cigarette and saw the boy standing directly in front of him.
Ugh.
The boy's eyes were completely black and lacked any type of emotion. The boy asked him sternly to let him inside his home. Jim rushed back inside and slammed the door. He began a nightly watch again for the strange boy, but didn't see him again. So now let's hop over to theories and see what we have there. So conspiracy theorists believe that black-eyed children are aliens trying to reach out to their Earth. So like they asked to use the phone or asked to come inside because they're trying to contact their Earth. Or I like your idea of like the evil one, I think he was called, where he's like their leader. And so they're trying to contact him and say, okay, we're in, you know?
Yeah.
Plant your whatever you plant here, do whatever you do. It's like what happens afterwards. I know that in one, like the lady let them in and then her husband had cancer, and so like bad tidings happened. But what about the other ones that we don't hear about? Like, are there ones where people like they let them in and then they die mysteriously?
Yeah.
There's so many mysterious deaths.
But then no one knows why they died because they're not there to be like, there was two creepy as fuck children.
Right. I mean, think about the Ketty murders or any of those strange like murders that
the Velisca axe.
Well, wasn't that
the
train rider?
No, that one's unsolved.
Oh.
And no one knows. They stayed in the house for a couple days too.
Yeah. I don't know. You never know.
Yeah.
What if it was them?
I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think about that. Is that all your theories? It's either aliens or it's this.
Demonologists believe that the children are the devil himself, and if you let them in, you're allowing the devil to enter your life. But again, as you've mentioned, that's just a very Christian belief.
I'm not knocking Christians. I am knocking colonialism.
Right. I get
colonizing I'm not like, for.
This would not be an answer for everyone. Right. Is what I'm saying. Like Buddhists would not believe this.
Yeah.
Hindu would not believe this. You know, there's so many other religions that it just doesn't fit.
No, I'm with you. I just meant like I feel like we're poking fun.
Yeah, no.
And I'm like, I'm technically Christian. I'm just very skeptical about everything.
Right. So. There is a lot. I mean, it happened. The events of the Bible and everything happened so long ago. So.
Yeah. It was before 1150 AD.
It was before the modern day stories of the kids.
And it was after the Celtics.
The last theory is ghost hunters believe that the black-eyed children are extraterrestrials, vampires, or ghosts that took these alleged sightings very seriously. What?
They took them? Like the ghost hunters take them very seriously?
Yeah, because they think that they're extraterrestrials, vampires, or ghosts.
Something paranormal.
I could see ghosts. I don't see vampires because there's no report of them like sucking blood or...
Well, no, I think the only reason people do say it's connected to vampires is that they need to be welcomed inside.
Yeah.
A vampire needs to be invited inside.
Well, not only that, I think that it might be like because maybe they're immoral too. Like maybe they aren't ghosts. Maybe they are real, live. Right. And they're just immoral and always forever children.
Right. So I didn't fully research theories because the ones that you found are pretty much it.
That's it.
There's no in-depth, so it's just going to be us speculating what we might think it might be. But I don't know if I think they're aliens. The thing that does kind of make me think they're aliens, though, is the Men in Black.
Yeah.
Because there's Men in Black in the Mothman story. There's Men in Black there's another story. I don't fully know like all the details, but I know that this woman her house is in like a national park and it's near some army base thing.
Mm-hmm.
Men in Black show up at her house a lot. So it's like, but they're weird. You know, they say things that don't make sense. They're like unusually tall and just like off a little bit. But I don't relate it to aliens because of the movie.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of if there are Men in Black that are in control of what's happening, then I could see it being aliens. I don't know.
I'm not. Okay, so I'm a huge skeptic on every single everything, every single thing. Everything. So when it comes to urban legends, I chalk them all up to just BS. And so on this one, I do think that a lot of these stories are false. I think some of them might be a lot like exaggerated.
Yeah.
And everything. So I'm not 100% on board with this being a real thing, but I could see it being a real thing.
Right.
Especially if it's aliens or something along those lines.
Something physical.
Right.
Because I don't think they're ghosts. I don't know. I also don't think, like, yeah, the Iroquois legend is the most similar one.
Yeah.
And there is Iroquois art of someone that has black eyes. Yeah. But that could also have just been the style that they were painting in. You know, maybe they just didn't focus on the eyes. I don't know.
I mean, that's a lot of detail in the eyes, you know?
Yeah. And if you're painting it on an animal skin.
Yeah, with your fingers or whatever you have, like a feather. I don't know.
It's like we don't know how they paint. I'm sure they had tools, but I don't know what.
Yeah, exactly. Like they don't have like a fine detail brush.
Yeah, not like today. Those little tiny ones that you get all the details, but
I don't have the patience for that.
Yeah. Well, my skeptic brain. I'm not an immediate, like, it's bullshit. I think all legends have a basis in truth in some type of way, whether it's a parable to scare children, but they have to make it somewhat real or whatever. I just really hope they're not real.
Yeah.
If they are real, please don't come here. I don't like you.
No.
Stay away from me.
So I guess that's where our warning comes in.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to say it or do you want me to say it?
Go for it. I'll let you do it.
So, supposedly, like the slua, if you say it at night, I haven't seen any creepy bird people or dementors or anything, but black-eyed children, you apparently see them after you learn about them. So, you're welcome.
So, if you see a black-eyed child, we are so sorry. Just email us your story.
Yes. So if you or someone you know, I read that as has a black-eyed child, kill it. No.
I was like, I do too. I'm reading that right now.
If you or someone you know has had a black-eyed kid story or was a black-eyed child in the past, please feel free to email us at mysteretical@gmail.com.
And follow us at Mysteretical on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok.
Don't play with strangers.
And don't trust your government.
Be a millennial and don't open your door.
Welcome to Mysteretical, where we take a theoretical approach to solving mysteries.
So treat life like 2020, stay inside, and don't let anyone because...